inicialmente de agradecer a todos que, de uma forma ou de outra, contribuíram para a realização deste evento, ao professor Estevão, que ontem abriu que ontem abriu o evento, representando o professor Pascal, o reitor da UNESP, ao professor Raul, que acolheu esta ideia na Pró-Reitoria de Extensão e Cultura, com grande apoio aí da Ângela, do Roberto, ao professor Paulo Martinez, que se uniu a um grupo da pesada na organização das atividades, com a parceria da professora Andréia, de todos os alunos de graduação e pós-graduação do Veredas Digitais, e gostaria de parabenizar todas as contribuições trazidas ontem, no primeiro dia do evento, que estarão disponibilizadas online. Maria Tereza, Pierre Giacomo, Corinne, o Dove, que daqui a pouco deverá estar conosco. Obrigado por essa oportunidade de conhecer e discutir um tema tão interessante e importante, escolhido para esta oficina em mesa redonda, patrimônio cultural digital como apoio à inovação social e cultural no âmbito da União Europeia, mas com uma desejada reverberação externa. Thanks to all that in different ways contributed to the realization of this event, to Professor Estevão, representing Professor Pascal, Rector of our university, to Professor Raul, who welcomed this idea in the Pro-Rectory of Extension and Culture, with great support of Angela and Roberto, to Professor Paulo Martinez, who joined a heavyweight group in organizing the activities in partnership with Professor Andrea and all the of Veredas Digitals, undergraduate and graduate students. I would like to congratulate all the contribution made yesterday, which will be made available online to further viewing. Maria Teresa, Pierre Giacomo, Corinne, Dove, thank you for this opportunity to meet and discuss such an interesting and important topics chosen for this workshop and roundtable. Digital cultural heritage supporting social and education innovation in the European Union, what is expected also abroad. I elected an important idea in all the projects that will be presented, that is transforming education in the new creative space of living and learning. Eu gostaria de dizer, então, que o nosso evento estará aí distribuído, né, nessas 2h30 de atividade, lembrando que estamos aí com um gap de 4 horas em relação à Europa, né? Portanto, 9h30 aqui, 1h30 na Europa. Teremos, então, 2 espaços. No primeiro espaço, então, teremos uma apresentação sobre a agregação ao enriquecimento de conteúdos de cultura digital, a transformação digital para a inclusão social, mediação e pesquisa, e depois alguns estudos de caso. No segundo espaço, no segundo slot, teremos, então, perspectivas educacionais inovadoras, usando o patrimônio cultural digital na escola, e também aí com apresentação de alguns casos concretos, não é? Como a Crowd School, Glamour, Picture, não é? Na primeira parte, o Museum Hub, o Memex, Nature, e cada apresentação, então, terá a participação de outros membros da associação da Michael Culture, né, e parceiros que foram definidos aí pelo grupo que fará a apresentação, que estão envolvidos nos diferentes projetos apresentados, né, em conjunto com especialistas e investigadores brasileiros propostos por Dove e Paulo. Nós teremos, então, como foi sugerido, um pequeno espaço de um coffee break, um coffee break digital, aí, né? Que cada um poderá fazê-lo individualmente, e a gente retorna na segunda fase com depois um conjunto de questões que poderão ser aí apresentadas, não é, para o espaço de discussão. Não é? Aí eu passo, então, a palavra para o Pierre Giacomo para iniciar a sua apresentação.
Desculpe não falhar português, mas we will speak in English this morning. The starting point will come from Corinne, is my colleague, and she's already, just to give a general introduction,
yes.
what Michael culture is.
Maybe you can share the PowerPoint, Pierre Giacomo?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so good morning or good afternoon to everybody. It's a real great honor and pleasure for us to be there and have this discussion all together. Maria Teresa, our colleague, can't be there by the end, but Pierre Giacomo, who is a senior project manager at Michael Culture, and I'm the coordinator of Michael Culture. We will be with you during between 1 and 2 hours. We really do hope that you will contribute to the discussion using the chat and asking questions, because for us, we really do hope that this discussion will be the beginning of new collaborations, cooperations, and we would be very happy too. The next slide, PG, please. Okay, so what is in the agenda for the coming hours? So we will have a discussion all together about digital cultural heritage and how about it could contribute, and it can contribute to both social and educational innovations. Of course, we will base our discussion on some projects run by Michael Culture with other partners. And we have some guests here with us who are all partners or members of the Michael Culture Associations, or both. And they will contribute to the presentations and to the discussions. So as Ivan explained, we will have a first slot, let's say, about innovative educational perspectives using digital cultural heritage at school. And then we will have a second slot about digital transformation for social inclusion, mediation, and research. After each slot, we will have a kind of a roundtable, a discussion with the guests, and I'm happy just to present them. So we have 6 guests. First, we have Vesna Lovric-Plantich. Yeah, hi Vesna, who works at the Museum of Arts and Crafts in Zagreb, and we are partners in projects, and Vesna is also a member of the Michael Culture Association, and she's in the board of administrator with as well Marinos Ioannidis, who is the director of the UNESCO Chair on Digital Cultural Heritage at the Cyprus University of Technology in Cyprus. We have as well with us Roberta Sonnefeld from the Museu Judaico, and Dov Wiener, an old friend of Michael Culture, and we thank him as well as Paolo for the invitation. And Dov is the president of the Eva Minerva Conference Jerusalem, and also one of our members. And we have also 2 other guests, Axel Kerep from the French agency PAX, who is an expert concerning digital archaeology and fight against illicit traffic, and Ivo Osterbeek from Portugal, from Mapa das Ilhas, who are partner in the MEMEX project. So now I will give you a short presentation about the Michael Culture Association. Okay, thank you, PG. So the Michael Culture Association is a European trans-domain network, and it's a non it's an ISBL, so it's an international association. It's devoted to the digital cultural heritage communities. So we have in the association different types of communities, because this trans-domain and trans-sectorial approach is really in the core of the digital cultural heritage. So the members are from GLAMs, so from galleries, museums, archives mainly, from ministries of culture, such as the Italian Ministry of Culture and the French Ministry of Culture, some academies, universities, some research centers, and the members are from public or private cultural institutions from Europe. So the Michael Culture Association has been founded more than 10 years ago. And the objective of this network is the promotion and valorization of the European digitized cultural heritage and cultural contents, and the accompaniment of the communities. We have several activities, so the support and development of transmission and exchange of information between our members, and with also all the related communities. We organize some trainings, and we contribute to research. We also play a role in advocacy. So we are engaged in several networks in order to advocate for the role and values of culture and heritage, as well as DCH, in the European debate. And we are also involved in several European projects related to the reuse or the link between digital cultural heritage and research, education, tourism, and other areas. Sorry. And Michael Culture is also in charge of the Museu Hub. So we manage the Museu Hub, who is the Museu Hub is the aggregator for the European museums in order to publish their collections on the European platform. And I will do a presentation about it. And concerning membership, partners, expert group, so we are member of Culture Action Europe, really great network focusing on the advocacy about the role of culture in the European policy debate, and members of other networks such as the European Heritage Alliance, Europeana Pro, and we have some partnership with NEMO, the Network of Museums Organizations, and VIM with Marinos Ioannidis, and we are also member of the Heritage Expert Group of the European Commission. So, for the quick presentation, and now we can move PG to the presentation of Museu Hub. Okay. So this is Museu Hub. So as explained earlier, a strong part of our activity is related to the aggregation of collections. So Museu Hub is managed by our colleague Maria Teresa Natale. Next slide, PG. Thank you. So the Museu Hub is the reference point for the European museums, but not only European, and other cultural institutions hosting museum collections. That is the point. in the field of digital cultural heritage. And our role is to support, in fact, the museums or other GLAMs in order to publish their collections on the Europeana platform. I guess that yesterday you have had a presentation by Ari, the director of Europeana Foundation. So quick reminder, so Europeana initiative is led by the Europeana Foundation, and it's big online libraries and also services for the cultural sector. And it's kind of a consortium, let's say, with the Europeana Foundation and several aggregators, national aggregators, domain aggregators, and also thematic aggregators. And all together, we support the communities in order to make their collections visible and accessible for all. And so Museu Hub, one point important to know is that it's a free service because it's funded by the European Commission, thanks to the CEF Telecom support. It means that you can contact us and we will help you. So we provide services, good practices, training, help desk, and we are doing the aggregation between the collection provider and the Europeana. This next slide. Thank you. So at this moment, so far, Museu aggregates collection from 50 data partners of 22 countries and in 18 languages, and we take care about Museu, Athena, Linked Heritage, and Athena Plus datas. So again, we are really very open to discussion, advice, support about aggregation, digitization, and aggregation of our collection, and why it's important to publish collections and to of course to digitalize first and then to publish collections. It gives more visibility to your activity, but it's also an opportunity then to participate to other projects related to cultural heritage and reusing data. And this is what we will see in the coming hours. So next slide, PG. So now I will leave the floor to Pierre Giacomo, my dear colleague, and he will present the first slot.
Thank you, Corinne, for the introduction. So we will focus in the first session of this workshop on 3 projects. 2 ones, the Creative School and the Crowd School project, are already started, so I will be happy to share with you the progress and the achievements that has been already got. The third one is already started, so we will just introduce a little bit what is the scope and the aims of this project, also because it is directly connected to another project that will be presented in the second section. So you will see how it's also our good practice, first of all, to run a research project in order to identify new ways, new models for tackling a problem where digital cultural heritage can support innovation. In the second level, we also try immediately to put into practice also an educational program in order to immediately transfer the experience that has been developed by this project into a practice for education, training, and raise awareness of people about all these issues. So the first project I would like to talk about is the Creative School project. The Creative School project has the objective to, first of all, to give the possibility to school to better know what is the content of digital collection present in Europeana, but not only in Europeana, in any kind of digital collection all over the world, and of course, mainly in the countries where the school is involved, just to have for sure a direct linguistic connection. In the second level, it's also interested in providing a connection between the world of education with the creative artists, the makers. The experience of the Creative School project comes from a previous activity that has been run in order to promote a better knowledge between the museum professional and the artists, creative artists that are using digital technology in order to provide a different perception, a different point of view of the way in which a museum collection can be visited. So let's say this is a general objective. And here we have the partners, we have organizations coming from different experience, from the museum sector, from the education, from the science museum, and also with the association of makers, so the creative artists and museums. The activities that are planned within the project are, first of all, an analysis of the training and information needs of teachers, educators, children, but also parents, in the sense that we believe that education is continuous activity. Of course, we start at school, and usually there is a school curriculum that give us, let's say, the general format, but children, as well as adults, learn every day. So let's say the role of informal and non-formal educators that can be present in museum, in association, in every activity that we run every day is very important, because provide immediately the capacity of transfer any activity that we are doing in something that enrich our experience, provide us additional knowledge and information. So after this first analysis of the information and training needs, we already progressed with the development of training material focusing on the creative and critical thinking skills. So the objectives of the seminar, of the workshop, of the educational resources that we are developing is to promote the acquisition of new skills focusing on the creativity and critical thinking in students, in young people, first of all, but of course also to push the teachers not to simply adopt the traditional curriculum and transfer information, but also to learn, to help their students to learn how to live in a community that, of course, includes several differences that are very important at the local level. Finally, and of course, this is the third step that we are doing at the very end, we'll prepare a set of guidelines and recommendations in order to transfer the lesson learned by the project into a practice that can be adopted by any kind of school all over the world that want to start with the model that we are proposing in order to implement the same methodology in their own context. So I was mentioning that the first achievement that we got was the analysis of the information and training needed, and thanks to this work, we have prepared a manual about the methods to include the creative and critical thinking approach in education. All these materials are available online. We have already provided you with the link to the project in order to download everything that can be interesting for your experience. And of course, this report, first of all, presents the state of art. So we have identified some good practices, some experiences that already started the models that we have in mind. And of course, at the end, we also try to create a fil rouge, interconnecting all these experiences in order to create a model, in order to provide an example, a checklist to be used by future teachers, by future educators that want to follow our suggestion. And this is the key object that we achieved, in the sense that the second step, as we were mentioning before, is the development of open educational resources. So a set of training materials to be used to help the teachers in order to implement the models that we are proposing. Also, these materials are already available. They have been fully translated in English, Italian, and French. So let's say that, but I'm sure that thanks to Google Translator would not be too difficult to transfer all of them also in Portuguese, if there is anything that is interesting for you. And of course, in order to also provide an easy acronym that can simplify the approach that we're following, we adopted the crafted model. So our training material should be cross-curricular and interdisciplinary, respectful in order to take into consideration any opinion, even if it's far from the one that is officially acknowledged and accepted by our society. Materials must be adaptable, flexible, must stimulate thinking routine and strategy, must use but have an intelligent use of electronic and digital tools, in the sense that technology can be a tool for improve the quality of learning, but should not be the focus of learning. Technology should assist, should not be, let's say, the only way to provide. And finally, should be differentiated in order to help teachers to adapt them in any context that they want to use in their practice. So since September 21, the pilot testing of the development training material has started, and this is the full set of materials that we've developed. And you see that we've created 3 different categories according to the age of the pupils of the schools, fellows that will receive this material: 7-11, so primary school, 11-14, the first level of secondary school, and then 14-18. And we have also tried to create them in order to be helpful for many different subject matters that are common in school: art history, citizenship and philosophy, environment and natural science, geography, facilitation and education, history, teacher training, and STEAM, that is science, technological, art and mathematics, engineering, art and mathematics education. So let's say, try to provide as much as we can an information that is comprehensive, multidisciplinary, and take into account both technology and humanities. And of course, one of these material will started on Europeana as a learning tool in order to help schools to make a wider use of the educational potential that is present in digital collection. Here is just the first step. You can find some more information on the website of the project. We also have a Twitter and Facebook account, so we will be happy for sure to help you to implement and to know more if you are interested about this experience. I guess that we can keep all the questions if you have during the question and answer session at the end of this representation. So at least, first of all, you have a comprehensive vision of the 3 projects that we wanted to talk about. The second one is a crowd school project that started in September 2020 and take benefit of the crowd heritage platform that was developed in a previous activity immediately after, in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, crowd heritage was released, and is an online tool in order to support crowdsourcing to improve the quality of metadata. What is crowdsourcing? One of the major problems of Europeana is that sometimes the collection, the paintings, the books, the information that is provided somewhere is not well described by useful metadata. The metadata is the information that is necessary in order to identify a tool. So if you just input the image, the picture, into Europeana, but you did not provide a comprehensive set of information, it will be very difficult for the users to identify and to find the material that they are looking for. Of course, since there are about 60 million items now in Europeana, to do such an activity by hand, it will be very long and time and money consuming. So the crowd heritage platform, first of all, is trying to automatize this enrichment in order to add some tagging that can be easily identified by the machine. In second level, in any case, there is also the possibility to provide some interesting community, for instance, the schools, in our case, with the opportunity to enrich the information according to researches, further activities that are run by the school in order to support and provide an additional information that then will be useful for all the users of Europeana. So, of course, the objective of the Crowd School project is to move from this experience and try to involve the student in this process in order to facilitate the enrichment of the metadata of Europeana. So the methodology that we are following is, first of all, to identify some topics, some themes of interest of the school. This should not be just a, let's say, a technical enrichment, but it should be based on something that produce new knowledge, new information, new experiences for the students. So what is important is that everything must be well embedded within the school program of the participating schools. Then for sure, it's not so easy, it's not so evident that the teachers are used to work with Europeana. So there is also a group of education, of cultural and educational professionals that support the teachers in identifying the digital collection that better fits with the themes of interest of the schools. The teams of cultural and educational professionals work together and also identify a terminology to describe the collection. Of course, the easiest way should be to enrich the metadata with a free text, but of course, the free text then can be very difficult to be identified if you are not using the same language that has been used by the person that provided the additional information. On the contrary, if we force the student to use a terminology list, a list of words that have been identified as well comprehensive for the purposes of the enrichment effort that we are doing to perform, it will be very easy to translate all the different terminologies into any language that you like, and in such a way, when a Brazilian student wanted to check if there are pictures, paintings, or any kind of information in Europeana, he can use the common language, the Portuguese language, and receive information that is automatically translated into any other language that is present within the partner group. In such a way, for sure, we can create this translational dimension that otherwise would be lost. The second project here just started, so the students are now annotating the different collections that has been identified, and once that they have annotated the collection directly concerned with the themes that has been selected by their school, they are also commenting the tagging that has been done by the other school. In such a way, we are trying also to stimulate a different point of view, in the sense that each school, according to the teachers that have selected the themes, will first of all annotate the collection of direct interest, but then will also look and will also learn from the experience of the other school fellows in different countries in order to have this exchange of experience. Finally, next year, so in the school year 2022-2023, we will try to provide a model for sustain this process, and we will use the experience coming from the students that are annotating the collection this year to help them annotate the school students of the following year to annotate new collection, new campaign. In such a way, every year there will be the students of the previous year that will help the new ones. In such a way, each school will become independent also after the end of the process. The partners, as we already mentioned, are both schools and cultural institutions. And of course, at the end of the day, what we expect is to have trained teachers that are able to use the crowdsourced tools, helping their students to acquire new competencies about creativity and critical thinking approach, promoting co-creation, and of course, also increasing awareness of the European teacher community about the relevance of this model and methodology. The collections selected by the partner school for the first year are concerned with food in heart, fashion in heart, cities and landscapes, the Olympic spirit, architecture, landscape and gardens, musical instrument, the Gaudí architecture in Barcelona, once more food, and endangered animal species. So you see that also the topics are not only concerned with art history, but move from any kind of humanities and also practical technical skills. What is important is to underline the effort that has been done to create the terminology, because for sure, originally we started to prepare the different level of terminology. For instance, for the collection that are concerned with the food in the heart, we identified different level, animal food or vegetable food. Then there is a third level that the animal food can be red meat or white meats. Red meats can be beef, horse, mutton, water buffalo, and so on. And in such a case, we can identify the word that well describe the new information that we wanted to add in the metadata. Of course, in such a way, we have also a tree structure that can incorporate different meanings according to the research that the users are doing. And of course, thanks to the Wikidata system, we have found that there are a lot of terms that are already translated into French, Italian, and Spanish. And furthermore, we've also learned how we can use Wikidata and to add a new term in Wikidata. So it is very easy also to add the Portuguese terms to our terminology list in order to facilitate the same application also for different languages. In spring 22, the Michael Culture Association is planning to organize a workshop on Wikidata in order to show and to teach to any people that is interested in applying the same model how we can easily implement such a tool in every activity that we wanted to perform. Here, once more information can be found in crowdschool.eu, and you can find also on the Twitter at the Crowdschool European Union. Finally, just a couple of minutes more for your patient. Picture is a new project that is going to start in January next year. In principle, the grant agreement, so let's say the project is started on the 1st of December, but of course, during the Christmas break, we prefer to start our activities officially in a continuous way in January. Picture takes its steps from a previous project, the one that will be also presented later on, that is Nature. Nature is a project focusing on the provision of models, tools to help all the different actors. They can be police, but also archaeologists, it can be scientists, it can be art market professionals, to tackle the huge problem of trafficking and looting of cultural goods. You know that with Syria, Libya, so countries that in the recent years have seen revolution, there were a lot of archaeological sites that have been completely looted, also with the intervention of terrorism organization, in order to collect new money in order to subsidize the terrorism itself. Similarly, there are also a lot of stolen objects from museums, from archives that are sold on eBay or on Amazon, or directly also often in official art market organization. And of course, this is something that is a problem that cannot be just left to the few people that are taking care of this in the customs, in the border control, in the police, but everybody should be aware about this risk, because of the possibility to buy something that has been stolen or looted from a trafficked archaeological site is not so poor. So let's say what the objective of this group, of this project, is that have both school and cultural professionals and archaeological site in this partnership want, first of all, to analyze what are the good practices that has been run till now in order to collect the best of the experience of the different countries that are involved in the project. Then we wanted to organize some seminars, workshops, in order to raise awareness of the students, of the schools that are participating about the problem, and to stimulate them to create new model for communication. For sure, what is important is to make also a larger use of social networks. And of course, young people well know the way to improve and to increase the awareness about these issues. Last year, for instance, we have created, thanks to a well-known French YouTuber, a video that stimulates the young people about the relevance of this project. And of course, this was an important and relevant success for young people. Finally, as usual, we wanted to transfer the experience, the lesson learned by the project to a wider community in order to really provide a support to any school in Europe, in Brazil, in the world, to help and to create informed citizens thanks to a good education. Here is the information. At the moment, we don't have yet a website for the project, but you can already find some information about all these activities in the website of the Michael Culture Association. And now it's time for question and answer. And of course, in order to stimulate also question and answer, we have invited, as Corinne already mentioned, Vesna, Roberta, and Dova, that are well working about this issue. And I give the floor to Corinne now that will animate the roundtable. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I'm ready to any questions that you want to ask.
Thanks, PG. So yeah, the idea now is to give the floor to our guests, and in order to have their observations, comments, and stimulate the discussion. And as well, in parallel, to have your question, you know that you can put your question on the chat. So first, Vesna, if you want to take the floor, from your experience and your expertise, what about education and digitalized collection?
Okay, hi to everybody. I work in the Museum of Arts and Crafts, and I'm not in the education department, but I've managed a lot of European projects we participated in, like Partage Plus, Athena Plus, then European Archaeology, now in a crafted project. But I can say something about our experiences with digitized records. And during those projects, we've uploaded most of our collections to Europeana, and it proved to be very important and the base for producing rather innovative educational materials. And like in Athena Plus, some tools were developed. For example, CityQuest, that proved to be very useful for our education activities, like searching for some culture, like buildings or something outdoors, but also within our museum to search for some objects within our permanent display. So it proved to be very successful with young children and very amusing. And they have some initial information, and then they have some hints, and we're searching for particular objects, then scan the QR codes and go on and search for some other. So we also have a lot of online workshops. I must stress not only that we are in the middle of the pandemics now, but also we have a specific situation because we had a major earthquake a year and a half ago, and our museum was damaged. And unfortunately, we don't have our permanent exhibition anymore. We moved all the objects to other buildings, and are going to have a reconstruction of the museum. So the online workshops and all online things also for schools or also for children and to other are very important to us. So we organize many online workshops, and you can see it on our web page. They are mentioned, and they are very creative, and they are also based on the digitized objects. So there are lots of like quizzes, lots of puzzles, memories, and things like this. And we also participate in the Glamours project. That's an Erasmus Plus project, and also have things like moment photographs, where children are asked to take a photo in a motion, in a moment, and then to share the photograph of themselves or something else. So it's called 1, 2, 3, you are caught. I mean, they take a photo in a moment and then share it on the social networks, or they can tag it or something like this. And also we participate in a Google Arts and Culture project, and so people can also, and children and people, go through our museum, through our permanent display that exists no more, and also play and navigate and search for some objects. They can play games. We made also some online exhibition and so forth and so on. So that's in brief what we did.
But that's a lot. It's a lot. Yes, you're really very involved in several educational, let's say, activities. And we will present during the second slot the Glamours project, where you and Marinos are involved as well.
Not myself, but my colleagues.
Yes, I mean, yes, yeah. And I would like to give the floor now to Roberta, if you're well connected. So
I see that Roberta is not in the list of participants.
Okay,
so
okay.
Some technical problems.
Okay, so Dov, if you are available, and if you open your micro.
Dov, you're still mute.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, if there is in the meantime anybody that has some question or experience to be shared with us, there are no questions in the chapter list.
Dov is here.
Oh,
Dov. Yes, but Dov, okay.
Thank you for the presentation.
We don't hear you very well, Dov.
Okay.
Okay, better.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm very happy to see how many projects Michael has initiated. One question that may be of interest of people participating here, what do you think are the possibilities for participation of Brazilian partners in such projects? I know that Brazil can participate in higher education projects of Erasmus. So there is scholarships for Brazilian participants that can come to university in Europe and study there. The question is, if this possibility is also open at the level of secondary education, or at the level of a project that you are running, because there are, if there is such possibilities with funding or even without funding, this can be a very good venue for cooperation, because there are many digitization projects in Brazil, many digitization projects. They are not aggregated like Europeana, but each one of them can provide a good possibility of enriching also Europeana, but also the students at the schools in Brazil.
I will let PG answer because he's an expert on Erasmus+.
No, but not only Erasmus+, let's say that you know that the European Commission, the European Union in general, in principle, is very open to this kind of experience. In practice, due to the very different governments that are in the member countries, there is not a unique policy. So usually now it's not so easy as it was 5-7 years ago for non-European organizations to take part in European projects. In terms of that, at the end of the day, in principle, it is easy if you want to participate next January to the kickoff meeting of Picture, for instance, that is a new project that is going to start. We are happy to invite you. However, we are not able to provide you with any contribution, financial contribution to participate. So if you are able to identify some local resources, thanks to the Brazilian government, or as Marinos was suggested before, to move together to the unit of the European Commission that is in charge of the international connection with South America, we can also provide a framework program in order to say there are a lot of projects that are of mutual interest, where the European Union is investing, and where the Brazilian, South American participant could take a benefit. Also, Ivo, I see that you wanted to add anything. Ivo, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I will speak in English just so that everybody understands. You have two other alternative ways to potentially participate. So projects in which you have Portuguese or Spanish partners, we can try to set up tandem applications outside of the scope of European tools like Erasmus or H2020. For example, if a Portuguese, if a project by Michael Culture has a Portuguese partner, you can set up a parallel funding scheme through Instituto Camões, which is an organism that works for the CPLP, the community of Portuguese-speaking countries. And if it has either a Portuguese or a Spanish partner, you can also set up a tandem application for an Ibermuseus funding scheme, which is available for Iberian countries as well as all of Latin America.
Thank you, Ivo. Well noted. I didn't know personally about it, but it's very, very good to know. In
also,
fact,
you post.
Concerning the ongoing projects, so for example, the Code School and the Creative School. I mean, what we can offer, and I think mainly it is the participation to the workshops and the activities. And for the Code School project, we will ask to our partners from Spain, for example, because we have a school, and also to the other ones. But that could be interesting that some of you would participate to the campaigns, because the campaigns will be run by the different schools, but it will be depending on the school in French, in Spanish, in Polish, in different languages. But maybe that could be interesting if you want to participate to the campaigns with schools. I think it's possible to open it. We have to discuss with the partners. And because I do think that for what you talked about, Ivo, the tandem and the other funding scheme, it's not possible for ongoing projects. It's when you prepare a new project. Okay, and the other point is that yes, that could be, of course, very interesting if some of you are interested by those type of projects, to let us know, and then for the next projects we'll apply to, we could involve you. And I know also that at MAPAS Bapadas IDEA, you are also involved in projects related to education and to school. It's one of your activity. I don't know if you want to speak about it now.
No, I was just going to say, for ongoing projects, because like you said, this is something that has to be prepared. Tandem applications have to be prepared with years in advance, because of all the likelihood that one application may fail. But we have used in the past just for mobility, so not for a full funded participation, but just for mobility, for meetings, for certain events, and this is very dependent on the political climate. But we have also used in previous projects, we've used support from local embassies.
Yeah.
So if you have the Brazilian embassy in Brazil, if they have enough funding and they are willing to support the project in a way, it could work.
Yeah, so to contact the cultural diplomacies from all the partners countries, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But just a question, because I didn't know of course, the
Tandem
and Ibero Museum activities. Is it possible also to prepare a specific application, or should be a project directly already funded by European program? I mean, if there is Mapa da Ideas, the University of Sao Paulo, Michael Culture and Makash in Israel, for instance, that want to create a permanent cooperation in order to involve the Brazilian researcher in all the projects that we want. Can we prepare a framework project in this sense, or must be a project already connected to a project approved by the European Union?
It depends. The funding schemes change every 4 years, and because of the COVID pandemic, the previous funding scheme is closed here in Portugal, and we don't know how the local institutions are now funding. So everything is negotiated on a case-by-case scenario. So we can, if you want, we can make a list of things we can ask them at the desk here in Portugal. And for Ibero Museus, I think they work similarly to European, to Creative Europe, for example. So what you have to do is, when you're applying for one, you need to apply for the other. And in both applications, you need to explain how they both will interact in order to avoid double funding.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know if you have questions, the other participants? No?
So otherwise...
Oh, yeah, I just had another idea, but I'm not sure if this is scalable, but for schools, we know that because of the town twinning protocols, you have many cities have money specifically, and many Spanish cities have town twinning with former Spanish colonies, and the same in Portugal. So if you are working with if you want to work with a school, that is in a municipality that has a town twinning thing. I know, for example, that Veredas, where we are seated, has a twinning protocol with Veredas in Piauí, and a bunch of other cities in Cape Verde, Angola, Mozambique. So there are specific funds for the mobility not only of public servants, but also teachers and students from those municipalities.
Okay. It's always good to have a friend from Portugal. I saw that, Ivan, you wanted to say something, no? I saw
there is a question that will be held. I must say that I lose my energy here, and my computer must restate, but now it's normal again. We have some question here. Let me see.
Nelson.
Nelson.
Okay. No, I have a question. It's more like, I think the projects that were presented were very interesting, but I would like to know if you could talk about a little bit of perhaps the logistic problem concerning the idea of working with the schools. Because, for example, let's say that let's take a very low number. Let's say 5 schools in 3 different countries decide to be part of the project. That's 15 schools. How is that managed? How do you see perhaps logistic problems of managing these people and working with these people?
Well, the first point by experience is that administrative issues, regulations are very different from a country to another concerning first, the participation of schools, the autonomy, the budgetary autonomy of schools. Because, for example, in Italy, a school can decide to join a European project. They can decide, sign, and receive the budget. In France, they can't. You have to involve all the municipality of the school, the local municipality, or teacher association, to be brief. The second point is that what is very important also is to have really a strong discussion between all the schools concerning their pedagogical programs, because again, in each country the program is different, and and so it's very important to have a real discussion about the pedagogical objectives for each age and for each country. The other point is the question in a logistical point of view of the materials. When you and computers and so on, what is interesting is that thanks to the project, the schools can get more materials, and for example, in the Erasmus Plus project, they can invest in computers or so on. And as well, the management of all the schools, it's I think it's about discussions and organizing a lot of online meetings, and if possible, physical meetings. Other point is that in general, it's not only school. It means that you have to involve technical partners when it comes to digital cultural heritage, and cultural organizations or social cultural organizations. Then you have to face, and that's the most interesting, you have to face the professional habits from the different sectors. And the first point is to learn about how it works in the various sectors, and then you can enrich the discussion. And this is a very important point, and it's very interesting for all the contributors, the partners. Maybe PG, you want to add something?
No, but let's say there's another important issue is that for sure, in origin, we planned also to have meetings in all the partner cities in order also to let the students and the teachers to meet at least once all the partners. But of course, now in the COVID time, also this opportunity is quite reduced. We plan to organize next year only one meeting in Paris in order to invite the teachers of all the partner schools all together in order to have a real exchange, because otherwise everything is at distance. And of course, we are not used yet to communicate everything at distance. The face-to-face communication is still much more worthy and effective than online tools.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could maybe just
Sure.
also remind, if you're looking for schools that are somewhat already into the scheme of working in projects, you can look at the catalogs by Erasmus and see what organizations already have this practice value. Or you can go check schools that have some sort of digital background on the catalog of the Rede de Cidades Educadoras, Rede Internacional, which it's very strong in Latin America, and it's a good place for you to look.
Thank you.
We went a little bit out of time.
Okay, so we have to speed.
So if you like, we can have a
10
break.
minutes? Yeah.
Perhaps we can just reduce a little bit. Is okay for you to meet at 10:55 São Paulo time?
Giacomo, now
Yes,
here is quarter to 11.
Yeah.
It's a quarter to 11. If you want, we can have a coffee break.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yes, maximum. Yeah.
15 minutes maximum, and then we return. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
But I invite everyone to return. Okay.
Yes.
It's mandatory to come back. Indeed. The best should still come.
Okay. See you later.
See you later. Ciao.
Okay. Return.
Ready?
Okay. I begin with some two little questions that I would like to put you. Speaking about cultural heritage, how do you cope with the growing movements of immigrants in Europe in your cultural projects?
It's the topic of the project we will present now with Ivo.
Okay. It's all right. We'll let. Okay, next. It's all right.
Yeah, estamos em sintonia.
Perfectly.
It's all right. And another question. Question is not a notice. I would like to highlight the importance of digitalized European archives, museums, and libraries for Brazilian and Latin American historical research. Within the European project, there are many important unpublished documents of great interest to our historiographical research. That is very important. We find many documents that we don't knew till now, only through European ways. It's very interesting. And then we can making a relationship, begin a relationship using this great material that they grow up with this project of digitalize the documents of museum archives, mainly from Spain, from Portugal, also from Italy. No? There are many important new documents that must integrate our research, historical research. No? That's very important. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I must say that I and Dove, we write a paper on Europeana, and we publish here in Brazil. It's very interesting because people knew about Europeana through these papers. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Yes,
right.
we still have work in communication concerning the existence of Europeana in the research sector and as well as at school, because it's also a really good tool for schools, but we need to make it now, because we still have in France or Italy or in Europe, it's the same. It's not very well known by some practitioners. And the other point is that I mean, there is no obligation. It's not mandatory for the GLAMs to publish on Europeana their data in most of the countries. So this is why sometimes important collections or documents are missing, because if it's not mandatory and it's a time for the cultural institution to digitalize and then to go on the whole process of publication, of publishing, then it's the reason why. Also, we need. There is really a need for a massive digitization in Europe and abroad. I mean, and it's very important also to access and for the diversity of cultural heritage and to better know other cultures, and then to be able to exchanges, to know more, and to fight the a priori préjugés. It's really very important. So we also published some recommendation with Marinos toward the European Commission in order to support digitization and using standards, and it's really very, very important. And concerning your first question about migration, so Ivo will present the MEMEX project, but we do think that cultural heritage is an ongoing process. It's not only about the past, but it's a renew every time. It's about the past, the present, and the future. And it's tangible, intangible, and we do think, and I guess that Ivo, you think the same, that of course it's also buildings and collections, and but it's also about know-how. It's about languages. It's about the memories. It's the nature. And so it's really very broad. It's the UNESCO vision of the cultural heritage, and for what concerns microculture. But again, Ivo, I think it's the same for you.
Yeah.
We do think that concerning migrants, it's something, I mean, positive. It's always a mix, and it has always been like this. And it's an enrichment and you have to welcome the newcomers, and you have to make them know the culture from the country they arrive to, and you have to learn about their culture. And personally speaking, because I'm from various countries, it's an addition. I mean, heritage, it's an addition of heritage, is the country you live, the country you come from, the family. Heritage. So it's very important to still be open and welcome, and also because with the climate situation, there will be more and more migrations. So we need to prepare and positively, I would say.
Yes.
That's my opinion. And
so on the other question, the other side is also important. We have our process of digitalizing the documents are very important also for research in Europe. Many information, new information can be used by European researchers about our colonial relationship. Our many there are both sides are important. Our documents for you and your documents for we.
Yes, of course.
Right.
I've seen that. Marinos, you raised your hand, and then Ivo.
Also Ivo, yeah.
Yeah, also Ivo. First, Marinos.
No, it's first Ivo. Ivo first.
Ivo.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I was just going to very maybe try to contribute to this discussion. So on the way people relate to heritage, I would say that we lived in Europe after the Second World War, a good period of accepting difference, of being very tolerant to difference. But now it seems we are seeing a re-emergence of some form of autocratic ideologies. And when we look at the history of autocracies, whether they're left-wing or right-wing, we do know that they have very low tolerance to different forms of understanding the world. And this is always also happening on how they curate heritage. And it seems we are kind of re-seeing this, the lowering of tolerance towards difference, even when the discourse is officially a different discourse. But I'd also like to share something and this is just a perception on this topic of sharing collections, sharing knowledge for research and for reuse as well. At least in Portugal, it seems to me that libraries and archives are very open to sharing everything, to not only amongst themselves, but with the public as well. While museums are not so inclined to do so, even if they have the digital collections, they seem like they have this sense of ownership of what they have, whereas libraries see themselves as solely as guardians of their material, and so they share it freely. It's as if museums have this sort of neoliberal logic. You have to pay to access materials, and libraries have this public service mindset, which is I don't know if this is global or if it's just a Portuguese phenomenon.
I don't think that it's global. I think it depends first on the countries, but and mainly on if it's public or private museums, and if they have enough funds, because this is the question. You have the big museums, but you have a lot of small or medium museums, and then it's different. And with the COVID and digital transformation, there is also all this question about new economical models for museums and other, claims, but for museums, that is really very, very important. And I invite you all to read the really great survey and study made by NIMO about museums and COVID and the situation and new relation with audiences. But this question of a new economical model related to digital transformation is really very important, because when you go to museum, you pay. And when you go to visit, the collection online, you don't pay. So there is also this question of economical model that is very important. And it's an ongoing, work to be done by and done by the museums. Marinos, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I want to go back to this what Evan mentioned at the beginning, immigrants and cultural heritage in Europe. This is what is happening now. You can find it in the media, online. But this is what's happened 1,000 years ago. I can tell you from our experience here in Cyprus, it's a part of this, what it's called UNESCO World Heritage listed sites and monuments. There is we have as a country three listed sites. One of them is a group of 10 monuments, 10 painted churches from the Byzantine time period, around 1,000 to 900 years old, beautiful painted monuments, unique, which have been painted from whom? From refugees, from people who arrived on the island, helped and supported the artists, and they brought with them this unique artistic way of painting frescoes. They came from the same area as they are coming now, from Syria. So the first 3D object in Europeana, because we are talking also about Europeana, is the best example to make a link or to make a reference to this, what you mentioned even. Immigrants, refugees, their movement during the war, 1,000 years ago in the area, what was a territory of Syria, now it's Israel. People moved out, came to Cyprus, they were saved, they had to work, and they left behind a piece of unique work which belongs under the UNESCO definition as an outstanding and has an outstanding and universal value. What else to say? Yeah. So we are trying here in Cyprus to digitize and preserve that. And the first 3D object, 2012, when Cyprus had the presidency of the Council of the EU, has been harvested to Europeana as a gift from our Minister of Culture. Yep. As
Great.
a part of the unique memory of Europe.
Thank you, Marinos.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you both. I think we have to go to the next session. PG, if you can share the...
I will.
I hope.
Here we are.
Okay, thank you. So now we are going to this session about digital transformation for social inclusion, mediation, and research, the three very important topics. And we will present you with our partners and 4 projects. The MEMEX project, the Nature and the Prevision project are funded by the Horizon 2020 program, and the Glamours is funded by the Erasmus Plus programs. So the MEMEX is focusing on social inclusion, while the Glamours is focusing on digital transformation of museums supported by young generation and new relation with this audience. And Nature and Prevision are 2 linked projects related to the fight against looting and trafficking of cultural goods, and is in in those 4 projects, you will see how cultural heritage data are very important, and how it's it's used in those projects. So next slide. Thank you. So Ivo Mapas das Ideias is one of the partner of the MEMEX project. Ivo is in charge of the pilot in Lisbon. So I will give you the floor for the presentation sorry, of the project, and also a focus on the Lisbon pilot.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. So I'll present the project. If you feel like I missed something, please just interrupt me.
Yeah.
Okay. So the MEMEX project is coordinated by the Italian Institute of Technology, and it has 11 partners in 5 different countries: Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and France. And the main purpose of the project is to promote social inclusion and cohesion, and we are doing that in 2 ways. One of them is through engaging migrants and other at-risk communities with storytelling practices that are highly based on the relationship between individuals and heritage.
Sorry, PG, maybe you can show the next.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so that's one of the objectives. So we are dealing with migrants and other at-risk people relating to heritage, and this is facilitated or assisted in some capacity by a mobile technology that's being developed within the project. And as you can see in this slide, we break down all of this into 6 specific objectives. 3 of them have social value and 3 of them have technological value. And to all of those that have technological value, the use and production of digital heritage is highly relevant. You can move.
Next slide. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we are the test bed for the project are 3 different social inclusion pilots, one being held in Barcelona, in which our colleagues at Interarts are working with local organizations, Sindiar and La Bonne, working with migrant women that live in Barcelona. In Paris, Corinne, Michael Culture with Dédale are working with the inhabitants of the Rosa Parks district, which is in the outskirts of Paris. And in Lisbon, in Portugal, Mapa das Ideias is working with a range of different stakeholders, among which the local contact point by the Migration Commissariat for the Brazilian community. And we are working with migrants mainly to understand how colonial heritage is perceived by them and how they can contribute to the rethinking of this colonial heritage in Portugal, considering that our demographic is rapidly changing, right? Local population doesn't have a lot of children. Increasingly, we are receiving more migrants, so we need to rethink what our national identity is and how the echoes of the past can inform a peaceful future in a way. So we move on. Maybe I'll just explain a little bit what we do. The idea is we work with migrants, trying to help them create meaning around the cultural assets on the city. And the project will have this assisted technology, assisted mobile technology that will provide the storytelling process with information that is compiled from all these sources that you can see. So one of them is Wikidata, which is a universal, global repository where people can collaborate in producing knowledge and sharing it. It is mapped. All the stories that are being generated are geolocated on OpenStreetMap. we use the software by Mapillary, which is a Swedish, I think. I'm not sure if they're Swedish.
No.
Company, no.
Don't remember.
Norway, yeah, they're from up there. They have a technology that maps digitally, makes 3D reconstructions of the space based on photographic recognition. And then you have a lot of information that's being retrieved by local archives and local museums, and also by Europeana. It's at this stage mostly provided by Europeana. And one of the challenges that all the pilots had, but particularly the Paris pilot, was to create this new digital information about heritage that in many cases was non-existent at the point, and will be important to inform migrants in the storytelling process. You can move on, please.
Next slide, I think. Yeah.
Okay, now we can show some teasers of the stories that were created in the project.
Maybe before, maybe that you can explain the work you do, the way you work with the communities in Lisbon. I mean, the way you mobilize them, what kind of activities you do. Okay. And then we will see the result with the teasers.
Okay, so in case you know, there's a project in Rio de Janeiro called Rolê Carioca, which is a heritage-based storytelling project that tries to get people to share their understandings and their memories related to heritage. And we are doing an essentially similar process. So we recruit migrants from a certain set of stakeholders, of local partners that help migrants in their acolhimento. I don't know the word in English, sorry. So when they help them with the food assistance, with documentation assistance, and all of that. They provide language learning for those who come from outside Portuguese-speaking countries. And we are working with them in order to help people improve their cultural participation, in a sense, in the city, so that they feel like they belong, in a way. It has to do with that social inclusion dynamic. Within the sessions, what we do is we provide socializing spaces always next to important cultural heritage assets in Lisbon, and we invite them to share memories and to know about this heritage and to share their understandings of this heritage, while contrasting them in a dialogic way with what are the formal narratives about that heritage. And the result is then a bunch of stories that are very personal, but have some degree of reflection about this shared universe of heritage.
And thanks to the prototype app we are using and creating, but tech partner creating it, we put the stories on the app, and then you can view the stories, but you can also create your stories. And there it's a new relation. It makes your history, your heritage visible, and it's also an opportunity for the mediators or intermediaries from the cultural sector or social organization to develop relation and activities with specific communities, I would say. So PG, we can share the... Okay. Yes. And this is the third MEMEX pilot Lisbon.
You have to enable
sound. You have to open your sound, I think.
E o tédio de sempre, os autocarros a se encherem de trabalhadores e perdida na paisagem em um emaranhado de fios elétricos no meio da visão para a Rua do Alecrim, uma estátua. Que estátua é aquela? Devia ser alguém importante, pensou ela.
Com roupas reais, segurando em sua mão direita um cetro, que representaria a autoridade que Deus tinha dado a ele para governar aquele grande país. E aos pés do cavalo, ele mandou colocar as serpentes sendo esmagadas.
Ficções à parte, a visita às galerias romanas é bem concorrida. Muitos portugueses e imigrantes ainda não a visitaram. Mas ir à Rua da Praia e aproveitar sua bela vista já é compensador. E aproveitar e tomar um cafezinho famoso no edifício Pombalinho.
Na fantástica segunda história, em 1147 a 1125, o militar Guimarães Martins reuniu suas forças na conquista do trono em favor de Dom Afonso Henriques.
Thank you. So this was for the Lisbon project. I don't know if you want to, the Lisbon pilot. I don't know if you want to add something about the project, Ivo.
Well, the project is still is going to run for 1 more year, and well, I don't know. I know that for now we have, on average, 15 to 20 stories on the app right now in each of the pilots.
Yeah, and we are also, so we just delivered some in Lisbon professional meeting some days ago, and we will have another professional meetings in order to present the progress done so far in Barcelona and then in Paris. Barcelona next week and Paris end of January. Another point of the activity is some research about how the project contributes to reinforce skills from professionals and change vision maybe of the attendees, the participants, and make them closer to heritage, culture, and contribute to inclusion. And one of our partners is working as well on the social readiness level, which is a new, not so new, but it's an impact evaluator indicator in order to see the impact, the societal impact of a project or a product. And so we published 2 policy briefs written by our partner ECOM, one of the partner of the project. And because those 2 policy briefs are about professionals and political recommendations. Because when you work in a project related to digital inclusion and specific communities, it's important to pay account to the time you need to develop the project, trust, to support the partners involved in this project. And it's a lot of specificities that we want to push toward both European Commission and also the local authorities in order to create the possibility to support other projects from the ground in this perspective. And we will have also a final event and presentation focusing on the outputs of the project. But you are very welcome to go in the MEMEX project website, and then you will be able to access to all the news about the project and the activities in all the pilots. And that's all.
Yeah. I'll say that we will also have another capacity building session, maybe in May, together with the people from Rolê Carioca here in Lisbon. And one thing that I should have explained, but I forgot, has to do with how the technology is being developed. So the user experience is being co-designed with the participating migrants, which is something that's one of the interest points of the project, I would say, to have them included in what kind of features the technology will have.
Yeah, because here the technology is for and co-design with those communities, because if you want to be, I mean, useful for those communities, it's very important to design the tools, the technology with the beneficiaries. Otherwise, you can lose, in fact, the positive impact you want to reach. So the innovative aspect of the project is on the close cooperation between tech and social organizations. The second point is about how innovative technologies could support inclusion and how to co-design a mobile app. And the third one is about this storytelling methodology that we all apply in the pilots, of course, with some adaptations, customizations, let's say, according to each national or local context. Thank you, Ivo. Stay here for questions. Then the next project. So here you have the link to the link to the project, and now you have the Glamorous project, PG. If you want to present it. No, Pierre Giacomo. You're mute. Okay, so the next project. No. Yes. Pierre Giacomo, we lose the PowerPoint.
Since I was mute, I had to switch off for my. Sorry for this issue. Do you want to continue from Glamorous?
Yes, okay.
Please, I do.
So the next project is the Glamorous. So the Glamorous is an Erasmus Plus project coordinated by CUT, by the Cyprus University and Marinos. And it's a 3 years project. And the objective of the project is enhancing galleries, libraries, archives, and museums through the youth engagement. And it's about how the young generation could support, and give ideas to GLAMs in order to develop new activities, new relations with audience. So the action plan of the Glamorous is provide good practices, presenting the youth engagement for GLAM recovery in the pandemic, offering some training opportunities and recommendation to support GLAMs in the digital transformation, again, through the participation of youth. So it's not only how to target, the young generation, but how include them in order to reinvent, in fact, the relation, new mode of relation. Also implement digitally enhanced activity involving youth. And last point, mapping social challenges in relation to the attitude, the sense, and the behavior among the GLAMs and the youth people. So next slide. So as you can see, it's a group of partners from various European countries. So the Cyprus University of Technology, okay, Michael Culture, and the association Citizen Empowers, the Web to Learn Association, so MUO, so Vesna is here, and all the partners have already achieved some of the objectives, some of the results. First, an inventory of GLAM initiatives for young target group during the pandemic has been achieved. So it's about 100 practices that have been collected by all the partners. And this inventory plus the reports on digitally mediated youth engagement for GLAMs during the pandemic are already available on the website of the GLAMers. So you can access, and it's a very interesting, inventory and about some use case, some good practice in different countries in Europe with the engagement of the young generation. And the other results that we will achieve, so we are ongoing preparation for it. It's guidelines and training for the GLAMs. So each of the partners will organize specific trainings on specific thematics. So maybe Marinos will speak about the training that you are preparing. And we are also, of course, again, preparing the map of social change. So next slide. So PG and Marinos, if you want to tell more about the GLAMers project.
Yes, thank you, Corinne. I would like first to say a few words about the MEMEX before I will go and talk about the GLAMers.
Yeah, sure.
This, what you are doing in MEMEX, happened a few years ago in Hamburg, in Germany. Hamburg was one of the first cities, or let's say states, you know, it's a federal, they have a federal system in Germany, and Hamburg is one out of the 16 states. They started a few years ago with a very, very big project, the Smart City project of Hamburg. That was the time when the refugees, immigrants started arriving in Hamburg, and they had a lot. So one of the challenges which they had in front of them, the authorities, was what to do, how to keep them busy. At the same time, they found out that these immigrants, or a lot of them, had better smart devices as the Germans had. So they created an app, they downloaded it in their devices, and they let the people to move around in the city, of course, in certain areas, each one of them, or in different groups, different areas, different neighborhoods. And they did a nice documentation. Documentation in 2D, in 3D, but also in storytelling. Yeah. If you can please check the Smart City project of Hamburg and what they did, I would say it's almost 5 years now, or 4 years now from that time. Yeah. You will find a lot of similarities to your project. Now, the GLAMers, if we come back to the GLAMers, if we go and see, because it starts, the GLAM, is galleries, it's libraries, archives, and museums. If we go a few thousands of years backwards, on the time of the Hellenistic period, mythology, and so on, we will see that I was a nice family. I was a mother in the family named Mnemosine. And this mother had 9 daughters. The 9 daughters, with the mother together, were in charge to preserve the memory of the ancient Greeks. The name of the 9 ladies was muses. They had a temple, and the name of the temple still exists, is well preserved, museum. And that was the place where the ancient Greeks went to do what? To preserve their memory. So starting from that, they had also libraries, yeah? Well known, the Alexandria Library, but also other libraries in the ancient state of Athens. They had also archives. Nevertheless, going back to the definition of galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, starting from the time of the creation of this myth about the museum, the muses, and all these kind of things, we will say that galleries, libraries, archives, and museums are spaces of knowledge. Or better to say, spaces of memory, where humans are preserving a part of their memory. And that's also the name mnemosini, keep the memory alive for a long term. Taking that into account, and of course, the challenges of the 20th century, and it was clear last year during the pandemic that this century is going to be named the digital century. The standard was set last year. And the revolution of the ICT, it's clear now by introducing 5G, at least in the European Union. So, having that also in mind as a second or third step in this way of approaching the Clamors project, we are saying, what can we do out of this memory which is well preserved but isolated in these 4 different spaces? The galleries, the libraries, the archives, and the museums. On the one side, we have the stakeholders, we have those who need to know what this revolution of ICT brings in during the time of digital transformation. On the other side, we have all these young people where, with their families, all of us here together, we were isolated at home in lockdowns, shutdowns, and all these kind of things. And how then can we establish the bridge of communication among these 2 communities, the youth, but also the spaces of knowledge and memory? And here is the most important and challenging point, where starting from the first slide of the presentation, it has been already underlined by Corinne, to provide good practices, but also to offer advice and training opportunities to support GLAMs in the digital transformation. And of course, to take into account the social changes in relation to the attitudes and among the GLAMs, and of course the young people. On the other side, it is planned, or it has been planned, to collect or to create an inventory of CLAM initiatives, which is good, and we will give it free very soon for access, and we will ask also for your judgment, for your evaluation or review. And we're going to have few training activities, and we are in the planning of these training activities and organization. And one of them is going to be here in Cyprus. Few of them were already done from our partner Web2Learn with excellent feedback and results, and in cooperation with Europeana. Some of them in cooperation with Europeana, and during the activities of the Europeana annual event. So in this upcoming training activity, which is going to be coordinated from our side, we are planning to show, to illustrate how, for example, from the scratch, from zero, the digital cultural heritage initiative in one of these CLAM institutions can start, leading to what? Not only to the long-term preservation, but also to a dynamic, sustainable and dynamic way of strong involvement of youth, so far as the use and reuse concern. And not only that, because that's not the last and final goal of the project. It's one of the main objectives. This, what we want to achieve is, okay, we have the content, we know how to use and reuse it, but the best is how to use it in the way to learn the lessons from the past and improve the current and the future part of our life, or way of existing in this world.
Thank you. So PG, this is the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for your participation. Now we had planned to have a discussion time. We are already out of time, but of course, and some people already had the opportunity to talk about, but in any case, if there are some questions, it would be fine to give some time also to questions in order to ask, to respond to your interest. If you have any, please.
Yeah, Evan, there are some questions.
Yeah, we reached our final time, and then now maybe it's impossible to delong our time, but any questions may be shared between us here in Brazil, among the participants, no? And also share with you by email, by another opportunity. No? I think that there are many ideas to think about, no? To share your experience. I know that is too much knowledge too many times, to few time at the disposal. But I think that we have had a very interesting time with your communication, with the presentation of PG, Corinne, and all the participants in these lots. There are many participants that share their experience, their projects, and we have maybe in the afternoon another two opportunities to remake some questions also with different themes. But 2 days to speak about so rich experience is a little time at our disposal.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would
Just
like to
again,
say your last words about this moment, please.
And just on behalf of PG and I, that again, we do hope that these discussions and those presentations would give you some ideas, and we are really very open, and I'm sure same for Axel, Ivo, Marinos, Vesna, to elaborate new projects, and also to see how you could contribute to the ongoing project. So we have to check with PG in the ongoing projects how to, open the door as much as we can to you for some webinars or some activities in the ongoing project. And for sure, we would be very happy to answer to all questions and to collaborate with you, and also to put you in relation with other organizations or our partners. So don't hesitate.
Okay.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
PG? Okay.
Yeah. No. Thank you very much. That I wanted just to thanks once more, because it was a very nice opportunity to meet expert, and of course we don't have the direct contact with all the people that listen to the conference through YouTube, but you will be in touch with them. I repeat what Corinne already mentioned. This is just to start, so it's just an opportunity to meet each other, and from tomorrow we are thinking how to involve you in any new project, and of course please contact us for any ideas that you may have in order to create a European team working with you to exploit all your ideas.
And thanks again to you, and thanks again to all the speakers and our guests and partners who are here with us.
Obrigado, foi prazer.
Okay, muito obrigado. It was a very hot and cold meeting. Hot for us and cold for you.
Very cold here, yeah.
Muito obrigado. Thank you.
Ok. Obrigado aí pela presença de todos. Obrigado por todos os participantes, não é, que estiveram conosco, participantes da nossa universidade, de outras universidades, de outras instituições, não é? Paulo, você quer utilizar a palavra aí no final, na finalização?
É só também agradecer e convidá-los para as sessões da tarde.
Sim. Lembrando, então, para a sessão da tarde, não é? Nós temos aí, às 14 horas, a conferência da Susan Haza, não é? E depois, às 16 horas, a mesa redonda Universidade de Memória Social. É isso, né? Então, desejo a todos um bom almoço, para nós, né, e para vocês aí um bom jantar.
Muito obrigado a todos.
E até uma próxima oportunidade para a gente se encontrar e trocar ideias e informações, tá bom? Muito obrigado a todos e a todas. E eu acho que mais informações a gente pode disponibilizar através dos links dos projetos, né, que vocês têm. A gente pode depois repassar para os participantes esses links, já colocamos alguns aí, mas tantos outros que poderiam ser utilizados para ampliar este conhecimento, tá bom? Muito obrigado. Até uma próxima, ok? Tchau. Tchau.
Ciao.
Okay. Ciao. Dove le ritraotti, dove?